How NLP turns growth into gaslighting. It's one thing to lose a relationship. It's another to feel like you've been outmaneuvered by a script. Many people who've dealt with coaching-trained partners, colleagues, or managers describe the same experience. Conversations that stop being human and start sounding like seminars. This is how NLP turns growth into gaslighting. Suddenly, the other person has all the words. They speak in a rhythm that feels rehearsed, full of reframes, accusations of not listening, and demands that you repeat their phrases back to them. What should be dialogue turns into a test you can never pass. And if you show vulnerability, instead of empathy you get a pivot into ideology. This isn't about us. This is about women never being recognized. This is about me living my truth. At that point, you're no longer a partner, friend, or equal. You're cast as the obstacle, the block, the one who doesn't get it. This is what happens when coaching culture, specifically NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and its cousin neurosemantics, migrates out of the training room and into the living room. It stops being about growth and starts looking a lot like gaslighting. The superiority complex in NLP. From its beginnings in the 1970s, NLP carried a subtle but powerful message. If you know how people think, decide, and act, you're playing the game of life at a higher level. You're no longer stuck in content, the messy details of arguments or feelings. You're operating in structure. That distinction alone creates a hierarchy. Practitioner above client, aware person above unaware person. In practice, it looks like this. Correcting someone's words as if they're faulty code. Insisting the other person isn't listening properly, even when they are. Reframing every objection as resistance or a limiting belief. A normal partner might hear, "I'm struggling, I feel lost," and respond with comfort. An NLP-trained partner hears, "Ah, that's your disempowering state showing up. Let's reframe it." Instead of intimacy, you get analysis. Instead of empathy, you get correction. Instead of dialogue, you get hierarchy. From superiority to moral superiority, enter neurosemantics. NLP alone is already loaded with superiority. But neurosemantics, which builds on NLP, takes it to another level. Where NLP says, "I see the structure of your problem," neurosemantics says, "I see the meaning of your problem." Practitioners are trained to go meta, to step up to higher and higher frames of interpretation. That might sound like deep reflection, but in practice it becomes a conversational escape hatch. Any uncomfortable question or emotional confrontation can be reframed into a higher-level moral or spiritual issue. That's how a simple plea like, "I can't keep up with you. You're smarter than me. You've got all the words," gets flipped into, "This isn't about me dismissing you. It's about women never getting the recognition they deserve." At that moment, the personal is erased. Your pain is no longer the subject. Her moral frame is. And because it's moral, it's untouchable. How can you argue against women deserving recognition? Or against living in alignment? Or against owning your truth? You can't, because the frame was designed to make your protest irrelevant. When coaching scripts replace conversations. Let's look at a real example. A man, struggling to keep his marriage together, tried to express his exhaustion and despair. "You have all the words," he told his wife. "You're smarter than me. I can't compete." Instead of reassurance, she responded with a coaching drill. "You're not listening. Repeat back to me what I said so I know you heard." When he faltered, she reframed the moment entirely. Women just don't get the recognition they deserve. In a few moves, the dynamic flipped. Trainer-student, he was positioned as the one who needed to learn how to listen. Faulty thinker, his pain was recast as evidence of a limiting belief about himself. Moral frame, the conversation was rebranded as a feminist struggle, with her as the protagonist. His reality was disqualified. Her superiority was affirmed. And her departure from the marriage could now be reframed as empowerment, not betrayal. Why this is gaslighting. Gaslighting doesn't always look like outright denial. It often looks like reframing until you doubt yourself. Coaching-trained partners may not even intend it as manipulation. They genuinely believe they're operating from a higher frame. But the effect is the same. They claim the high ground. You're positioned as ignorant, resistant, or broken. They reframe your reality. What you feel is downgraded to a limiting belief. They moralize their exit. Their betrayal or abandonment gets dressed up as empowerment, alignment, or justice. In the end, you're left carrying the weight of their decision as though you failed them. You weren't supportive enough. You didn't listen correctly. You couldn't keep up. The coaching echo chamber. What makes this worse is the echo chamber that validates it. Coaching culture thrives on testimonials of breakthroughs, but rarely publishes the stories of collateral damage. Inside that bubble, the reframing is celebrated. Leaving a partner becomes stepping into alignment. Breaking a family apart becomes choosing growth. Cutting off long-term friends becomes releasing toxic ties. And if anyone dares to question it, they're accused of not getting it. It's a neat trick. Coaching language not only justifies harm but preempts criticism. How to spot the signs. So how can you tell when someone is using moral superiority to gaslight you under the guise of coaching? Look for these tells. Conversation as compliance. Repeat back what I said so I know you're listening. Frames over feelings. Your emotions get analyzed, reframed, or corrected, never simply met. The pivot to ideology. A personal issue suddenly becomes about empowerment, justice, or alignment. Language of absolutes. This relationship no longer serves my growth. I'm living in alignment now. Dismissal of suffering. Struggles are chalked up to choosing misery or not shifting state. When these show up, you're not in a relationship or dialogue anymore. You're being processed. Why this matters. It's tempting to dismiss this as interpersonal drama, but the implications are broader. These ideologies are being taught in workplace leadership programs, sold as life coaching, and wrapped in the language of personal development. When those tools migrate into relationships, they don't just change conversations. They rewrite reality. And the people left behind are often bewildered, silenced, and erased. Coaching promises liberation. But when superiority becomes moral superiority, it can justify harm, excuse betrayal, and package abandonment as growth. That isn't higher consciousness. That isn't empowerment. It's gaslighting with better vocabulary. The bottom line. If you find yourself in conversations where every vulnerability is reframed, every objection is proof of your ignorance, and every wound is turned into their empowerment story, step back. Ask yourself, are you being heard, or are you being processed? Because when growth becomes a hierarchy, when superiority is moralized, and when empathy is replaced with coaching drills, you're no longer talking to the person you loved. You're talking to the script that replaced them.